Hello and welcome back to another video review for filmandgamecomposers.com. I am your host, Meena Shamaly, and today we are looking at Celestia, the latest offering from Impact Soundworks, a great sample library company if you've seen all their offerings, and we've reviewed a few of them on Film and Game Composers before. This is one of their more sound design focused libraries. It's focused on more ethereal, angelic, heavenly kind of textures and sound sources. And if we have a look at the website over here, that's the Impact Soundworks website for Celestia. It sells for $139, and it is a Kontakt 5.3 library. So it needs the full version, so it won't work with the free player and won't show up on your library tab. It will show up in the files browser or the quick load browser if you load it there afterwards. So let's get into it. I wrote a little track to try it out and demonstrate it and that kind of thing. So look at the track a little bit, and we'll look at the library and what it is and the kind of things that it offers. I want to show you as comprehensive a view as possible. So yeah, we'll have a look. So this is a little track I wrote called Father and Son. So as you can see, it's a short little track, nothing too complicated. It was written entirely with Celestia, instruments from Celestia. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instances really of things from Celestia. So we'll quickly have a look at the patches that I used for here and jump off into the library from there. So the library, it comes, if we look at the file folder structure, it has all these different presets: acoustic, basses, FX, hybrid, leads, pads, rhythmic, synth, poly, and textures. And it's also got this, one patch that's initial, but each one, they have plenty of patches to choose from. So you got basses, you got FX, and this is a lot in there. So we'll have a quick look at the track. So you'll find the main track here that I used is this kind of a string section. And if you have a listen to it, just on its own. And then just over here. So in this patch, this will be the first point we talk about in the library, is that each patch can consist of 1 or 2 layers. So this patch consists of a solo viola layer and a string section layer. These are from their Acoustic the acoustic part of their library. And it's got this string quartet thing going on in the piece that I wrote, but each layer, if you can tell here, so you got, if I solo the viola, or if I solo here the string section. So together they form that overall sound. And the layers can be anything. There's all these different categories. So you got acoustic, airy, bells, glassy, motion, noise, plucks, textures, vocal, and warm. And there's a plethora of things to choose from in each category. And yeah, so two sample layers, and each of them has their own controls, their own volume controls, pan, tuning, fine tuning, and then you got filter controls here, and you can modulate the filter and have these different LFOs happening, and the envelope for the filter is over here, and each one is separate for separately controlled for each layer. Now you also got sample start, constant and random, and we can check that in a minute. And you got monaural, so you can just make it mono. And this is a layer crossfade button and tracking. And we'll check those out in a minute. But one thing I wanted to point out is something straight off the bat with the acoustic sound sources. These are sound sources, not necessarily virtual instruments the way you would think about an acoustic virtual instrument. So this isn't focused on articulations or different playing techniques or that kind of thing. This is focused on, here's the sound of a viola, and we can use it and manipulate it and do a whole bunch of things with it. That is an important thing to realize, I think. So in this case, you hear the viola. And one thing that's interesting is because you can control the volume of each independently, what I did was I controlled the volume of the viola with the mod wheel, so and the volume of the string section with the expression wheel. This is my expression wheel, and this is my mod wheel. Mod wheel also controls sample crossfade, but it's not activated, so that's not an issue. But if I'm just playing the viola here, so it can be pretty expressive still, as long as you know that what you're doing is you're not trying to emulate a real viola. You're just trying to get the sample to sound more expressive if you want. So you can do that. And then that's when you can have the kind of string quartet sound. And then you could kind of get the orchestra back in. So there's a lot you can do straight off the bat just by controlling these volumes separately if you want. It's not implemented, but you can just right-click and learn MIDI automation and then just move your controller to do what you need. And you can also do that with the filters as well if you want and get really involved with it, which is pretty cool. Now, that is the top part of the interface. The bottom part has a sequencer, effects rack, and different performance aspects. So sequencer, we'll show you some different presets and we'll go from there. But that is what I wanted to cover, I suppose, from the composition. I mean, I just really doubled it with some synth pads. Just kind of underneath. And so there's a lot you can do straight off the bat just by controlling these volumes separately if you want. So you can control the volume of each independently. What I did was I controlled the volume of the viola with the mod wheel, and then you could kind of get the orchestra back in. And then you could just kind of underneath. So it's that combined sound. And this is the other thing about the library is, as good as it is for itself, in and of itself, it is great to layer with other things as well. It's great to layer with itself as well, but it's also great to layer with other acoustic libraries or different types of sound design libraries. And you got just some chime keys over here. Just like, so it's just a different layer. Now the ARP thing is pretty cool. It uses modulation, I believe. Yeah, it uses modulation to control. So it's pretty cool. So this is the other aspect. And then I just have a little solo violin, I called it, but it's really solo viola, the sample. Over the top, so if you hear it. And I've used the same thing of the expression with the volume. But the cool thing here is, if you have a listen, now I've actually tuned it down by 12 and transposed it up by an octave. And there are two layers. One layer is actually a synthesizer. So if I put the viola all the way down, because I've got control on the mod wheel, that's the bass layer, and then I just bring in the viola on top of it. And it's a really cool trick. It's where there's this kind of underlying sound, and then you bring in the loudest sound and crossfade it in and out. It's interesting. I just came back last night from a choir rehearsal. There's a choir performing my piece in a couple of weeks, and something interesting they did was I had these vowels, these ahs, and then when they kind of came back to the dynamic change, they go, oh, and underneath that there's someone just saying n, and that's like your quietest dynamic layer, which is an interesting thing. So this is sort of the same idea. Like you've still got that underlying synth soft layer, that healing warmth layer, and then you bring the sound of the viola, which is what you were trying to get. This is a pretty cool thing. And hearing it yesterday at the choir was fantastic. And it was interesting that I'd done this already in this piece in the same way, but I hadn't actually thought of it like that for the choir. But they were doing it. I was like, wow, that's actually quite an amazing idea. So yeah, so that's that. And now I'll open up just an instance here. You get Celestia initial, but we'll have a look at a few sound sources, and we'll get into these bits of the interface as we go. So the acoustic, and these are all acoustic sound sources, right? Well, as in this layer. So I got, it's a couple of guitar, 12-string guitars and everything. And as you can see, this is not meant to be, hammer-ons and pull-offs and that kind of thing. That is not the focus of the library. If we could try Celestial Emo Piano. So it's got a really nice piano sample here. So one of the layers is your acoustic piano if you turn it off. And there's a few effects, delay and reverb on there. And then you get this other layer, which is distant memory. So it's really subtle, but it really adds a different texture to it. So So a lot that can be done. For example, you get Carnival. One layer is plucked piano, the other layer is a pipe harp. So. And there's a lot of use of effects, especially delay and reverb is very prominent in this library, because that's the kind of thing you would associate with, you know, heavenly sound design. You get something like Castle Lights, which is... stacked EBOs. So you got a Celtic bow and a lyre EBO. So I suppose you could also, you could do that whole volume thing. So I'll modulate this with the mod wheel, and I'll modulate this with the expression wheel. So you got one layer that's got another layer with the expression wheel. We could probably play with them together. You could probably use this to like play the Black Sails theme by Bear McCreary. It's like... Now this is interesting. Something you could do is, as I said, you could stack it on, or layer it with some other libraries. So layer this with a hurdy-gurdy. So I'm just going to open up the Era Medieval Legends from Eduardo Tarilonte. And I'll open up the hurdy-gurdy from that library and combine them together. So string, bowed, hurdy-gurdy, hurdy-gurdy chanters. Let open up. So control the expression on here. Oops, let me just put that down a little bit. Combine that with maybe put the octave down. So you can get pretty interesting hybrid stuff happening as a result. So and maybe just a few more in the acoustic layer. Glass bottle chime. Glass harmonica, I'll give you glass harmonica, because I really like this patch. It's really nice, you can really take your time with it. And I'll demonstrate here the crossfade. So this is a layer crossfade, so the modulation wheel controls it. So you get layer 1, which is your crotales, and your other layer, which is your pipe harp. So you get some pretty interesting modulation happening as a result. It could do that with something else as well, I suppose. Choir of the organ, for example. So I think one layer is an organ. Yep. So one layer is an organ, the other layer is a choir. So here's your organ. And here's your choir. Now remember, we're not trying to emulate a real choir. This is not Requiem, this is not Elements, Olympus, this is not none of that. This is not Storm Choir. This is a sort of choiry sound source. So you could do that, or, the other way I like to do it is to control them separately. Is, assign the volumes of each to a modulation expression. So I really like to do that. So there's a lot that can be done just through that, right? What else do we have on here that's pretty interesting? Guitar piano layer. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So, pretty straightforward, pretty nice. And you can have healing strings, for example. There's a few things here that are based on the solo viola. So you have the solo viola as one layer. And then you get the other layer is a synth. That's actually the one I used earlier to do the solo on top of the strings. It's not really a solo, it's just like soaring on top a little bit. Something like nostalgic movie strings. There's a lot that can be done here. A lot that can be done. Resonant piano body. So you got one layer that is your piano. So just turn that on. And then you got your other layer is chromatic pots. That provides the resonance. And so it's these interesting combinations that they've come up with. So that's a quick look at the acoustic sound sources. Now, you can always go ahead and design your own thing from the top. So, say for example, I want to. So you put the Celestia in it, which is. So that's just the start with the basic sawtooth. So say I want to create one layer that is a bell of some sort, heaven bells. So that's just a sample as it is. Yeah, let's go with it. And with the amplitude, I want it to kind of ring out a little bit and decay a little bit. Maybe put the release up a little bit. Put the sustain down. So it just decays as I want it. Now I can go ahead and I can mess with the pitch as well and like. That's nice. So with the pitch envelope, we give it this little weirdness. And Maybe I'll just put a little low pass filter on it. Bit of resonance. Maybe put a filter envelope on it. So good luck can be done. And then the other layer, let's make it some kind of a pluck. Why not? No, actually, let's make it something. We'll make it an EBO. I really like the EBO. Put the volume down a little bit, mess with the amplitude. Put a little filter on. Something like that. This is kind of unsettling a little bit. And put in a bit of effect. Now have a look at the effects section. We got amplifier, so I can. And this is where you can get in really and make these sounds nasty. So a typical kind of thing. Sorry about that. So there's quite a bit you can do there, and then you got Bit Crusher if you want. And maybe a bit of noise if you want. Go between white and pink and brown and whatever other colors of noise there are. So I like the Bit Crusher a little bit. Just a little touch. It gives it a bit of edge. Go with the EQ as well. And these are typical Kontakt effects, right? But they're all included on the front end, which means I don't have to hit the wrench and start including them. They're all there on the front end. I could, if I need others, I could look for them, but these are already there. So as you can tell, I've already made this sound kind of nasty. Could go chorus if I want. But, you know, I don't want to do it on this sound. Go with the phaser. And maybe a bit of delay. A bit of delay never hurt anyone. And the delay is time locked. And you can switch how it works the panning. So it's kind of like a ping pong effect. And And with the reverb, now this is the convolution reverb, but they've included their own convolutions. And this is the part that I've always found most interesting in libraries effect tracks, is when because they always include their own reverb impulses, because native instruments have their own that include for Kontakt, but you can't choose that in a sample library that you're selling. I mean, obviously I can put whatever impulse I want in the back end, but here they've included some interesting impulses. So here you got large hall. If I change it and do the pre-delay. If we go for, say, Aquarium, for example. Cathedral. Or I could go Crystal Echo. And these actually have a different effect, especially on a sustaining sound, because the reverb becomes part of the sustain. Something like Deep Space. Or you got Extra Shimmer. I like that specifically. Frozen. I know that minute I said Frozen, half of you just burst into "Let it go, let it go." Frozen delay. Glittering. So as you can see, that reverb really makes a difference as well. Go into different halls. Large shimmer. Oceanic. That's really nice. Raindrops. Refraction. Room large. This is pretty interesting stuff here. Swelling. Ooh, that's really nice. And warm hybrid. So maybe even the swelling one is really good. And say if I put in the amp, I just put that master down, and the reverb just put it very wet. Maybe even put a lot of wet delay. Some really interesting stuff you can do there. So that's a lot of things we've done just by we've created all of this ourselves. Now if I want, let's just turn off the... I can do a filter envelope. So say I'll turn on the modulation amount, and these are the LFOs. And I can change the modulation rate, time locked, of course. So that'll ignore the filter envelope. And different LFOs as well. And then you got the random one. I could do that with band pass as well. And high pass as well. So yeah, so anything can be done. I could just put it back. Put these effects on. Now, with the performance, I can make it monophonic. So here's the performance page. Let me turn off the delay and the reverb, so all you hear is the... You can do that with anything, and you can have different legato modes. This is pretty standard Kontakt stuff as well. So you got retrigger or legato, which legato makes it a little more connected. As opposed to... Oh, but then I've got a bit of a delay attack anyway. Portamento, which is exactly what you think it is. And you can change the time as well, so it's like... And then you got unison. So put this back. To make it really nasty. And then you got octave controls. So you can do a lot with this if you want. And this will help... excuse me. This will help with combining with other libraries if you want to play the same octaves, if you want to just play them together. And then you got a sequencer. So if I turn the sequencer on, I need to actually do something with it. So maybe put it to 8 steps. Maybe if I put the release down for each of them. Oh no, that's the pitch one. Amplitude, there we go. So you go back to the sequencer. And you can change the pitch to whatever you want with semitones. So if you start at 0, 0, 2, 3. With the pitch one, so maybe turn this off. Okay, get the pitch envelope down. Three, 5, no, 7. God, get that pitch envelope all the way down. No pitch. Ah, that's why, because in the performance I've put the unison on. And the portable. There we go. Sorry. Those are the things you have to be aware of if you're creating your own patch. I could go even 16 steps. So go da 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 da. Five. 5, 3, 2. You can do all that, and then you can go up to like 32 steps and do what you will. But there's a lot that can be done with the sequencer. Now, you could also turn on the gating mode. Which will ignore the pitch and just focus on the velocity. You can play with so if you turn off the gating mode. You can change the speed over here. And maybe change the swing. Oh god. Keep clear there. So you can do a lot with just that. So back to that. Put that up. The reverb release. So and a thing that about covers the interface and what you can do. I want to show you this in relation to creating a patch. Actually, there's one more thing. Let's turn the effects back off. There's sample start, which you can kind of scroll into the sample. You could also make it random. Let's turn off the... This may not be the best sample to show you. Let me show you on the other one. So, turn off. I keep failing with the sample start thing. Oh, man. Like, you can actually do it, and I'm not sure if that's... with the track, that's like keyboard tracking. I'm not sure. Anyway, I failed. There's a great video by Andrew Aversa of Impact Soundworks that demonstrates this. So you got mono roll, which is and layer 2. So I don't know if you heard that, but it can make it mono instead of stereo. Now, this is just a demonstration of what you can do just on your own without having the presets, and that, you know, demonstrates the interface and the editability of the interface. So there's a lot that can be done with Celestia. So the last thing, there's this little random thing, and at the risk of undoing all the great work I've just done on this patch. We'll put the sample start back to random. So you could, if you press random, it just changes a whole bunch of parameters for you, including new patch. Random again. So it's now turned into this kind of really weird pad. Something else. Maybe another one. Another one. Another one. Ooh. Another one. So there's a lot you could do. So it's just like fun, I suppose, if you're looking for some inspiration. Maybe take a preset and do that with it as well. So that is the interface and, you know, creating your own patch and all the things you can do with it. Now, I'll have a quick run through of the rest of the patches, to not all of them, but the rest of the categories, so you can kind of hear the presets that they have and the kind of things you can do with them. So as you could hear, we could really dirty up a sound, so it doesn't all have to be heavenly and beautiful and angelic. You got something like... go into the amp and dirty it up a lot, master it down a little bit, and maybe it's on a bit crush it as well. So a lot that can be done. You got deep full eighths. And they don't have to be modulated, by the way. I can turn off the modulation here. Let's make it monophonic if I need to, or portamento. And mess with the filters. So put that to... And you can do that independently with each layer as well. So this is another one. There's another one. So if I play one note and just mess around with it. So you can control all these aspects independently. I've just assigned four different rotators to four different, two different cutoffs, two different resonances. So it's pretty cool. Dirty EDM. bit crushing there and amplifying and everything. So DMB U-turn. Designed acoustic bass. This is pretty cool actually. Because it's designed from Koto hits and a guitar pitched down as well. They're all pitched down, but if I do, now the interesting thing here is if I go monophonic and legato, and then here you got a pitch bend range as well, which I forgot to mention before. Apologies. And so here you can get the kind of hammer-on thing if you need to. So if you know how to kind of work a guitar, work that kind of fretted instrument. Now, you keep in mind you're not actually doing the real acoustic thing, but you can sort of manipulate it so you can do that. And this is the thing with these samples. Sometimes it's not just about what the samples give you, it's about how you manipulate them. Mike Verda had once said, I don't know if you've ever seen Mike Verda's videos, he's fantastic, great composer, and very opinionated. He says, sometimes my samples aren't sonically the best, but I know how to give them expression, and that's what makes them work. And this is exactly what we're talking about. So yes, it's a bit heavy snow bass. What else you got? There's a lot of great things here. Piano staccato bass. Got a few sequences as well. A lot of them using the modulation. Sub accents. This will be pretty low. And just a few. It's another sub. Transform groove. So something like this, it's like, you can do what you want with it. I was pretty sure I had a silver bass. I think that was the one I liked. Simple solid. There was one that had kind of like a really kind of wubby thing. I can't remember it. That's all right. So there's a lot that can be done. So you got basses, and what else you got? Effects. Now these are just like sound effects, and this is pretty cool. So What this library has, in addition to all the editability, is a plethora of sound sources. So if you turn off the piano part of it. Oh, sorry. It's quite a bit of modulation there. Yeah, so get some kind of ambient house. Some of these effects harken back to the 70s and the 80s, where a lot of synthesizers were used to make sound effects. That's something pretty cool about it. It's got this retro dimension to it if you need. So as you can tell, it's not all about angelic and heavenly. It's not about being Celestia. It's also a bit of dark stuff and pretty creepy stuff you can do as well. And with a bit of filtering sometimes if some of the sounds are too much. Can really kind of transform. And hot's over 9,000. No, hell over 9,000, sorry. God, I fail at film school for this. So, there's a lot there. It's a lot of weird stuff, man. There's actually one called Star Trek here. Space, the final frontier. We shall boldly go where no man has gone before. These are the adventures of the Enterprise, or something. I don't know. I can't remember. A whole bunch of Star Trek fans just want to hurl things at me right now. Warp core downer. So there's a lot to choose from. I'll say, how much bang for the buck are you getting in the library? And for $139 to at least getting this plethora of sounds, which, these are not easy to put together, and just to put them into this kind of engine. And I admire Andrew and the Impact Soundworks team so much for this kind of thing, man. So a lot of really cool stuff that you can do. Hybrid stuff, which is, I think, part acoustic, part electronic. So you get basic sine, and no, it's not basic sine, just chromatic pots. That layer was turned off. But a lot of really kind of interestingly designed things. Artificial harmonics, for example. Something like bowed hearts. And again, I could get the E-bow kind of happening with the mod wheel. Bronze bows, I really like these. It's something cool to kind of combine with the with the hurdy-gurdy. put the hurdy-gurdy down a little bit and combine it together. So just by combining it, and you can give that, typical hurdy-gurdy sound a new dimension. Combine it with this. Immediately, it's a different space, it's a different time, it's a different state of mind. Drunken pipe. A bit of modulation there. Healing guitars. So combine the 12 string with a bit of Jupiter synth. A lot of great stuff in here. I'm not going to cover it all because otherwise it'll be like a 14-hour video. It's already been almost an hour now. But it is a great in size, this library. Muted piano layer, for example. Speaking of muting layers, you can mute one of the layers and you can do... Or you can just go... So this is always another element that maybe you just want one of the layers with that kind of same processing, and then you can just change it and do whatever you want in the effects and sequencing, and there's a lot. Piano undertones. So plucked piano and even that plucked piano sound is so great. Get the attack down a little bit. Kind of sounds like you're bowing it. A lot of great stuff. Super Galaxy Bells. What's that even? So you can also see that there's a very wide variety of sounds. Like, you're not going to be stuck into a genre because of this library, because it's so customizable. At the same time, these presets, there's a ton of them. Santuresque, for example. Turn off that phaser and you're done. Like, maybe I don't want that. Maybe it's like... Maybe something else I can combine it with, for example, is another kind of Santur library. So just maybe put on the Santur from East to West. QL Ra, Middle East, plucked Santur, and maybe just sustain, whatever. Let it load, let it load, let it load. So that's your acoustic Santur from Play. Combine it with this Santur from Celestia. A lot of different shimmer that you can have, and why not? Why not? Because you can always write these beautiful things for acoustic instruments, but you can always go into this really interesting territory with combining them with hybrid instruments. So That's your hybrid category. You got leads, and these are pretty cool. These are like a lot of synthesized stuff. Oh, still got the Sun Tour going. But even then, combined with the Sun Tour. But yeah, put it right back. Maybe put on the pitch bend on here. No, don't cancel that. Push the pitch bend. Yeah, hooray for cheesy leads. I mean, cheesy lead playing. That's just how I'm playing it. But it's not the actual lead. You can really do some cool stuff with it. Got something like ephemeral. I really like this patch. I think something like this would really work well on a soundtrack if it's kind of really sparsely in between a few acoustic instruments. And well, so you got some different ones that aren't actually necessarily monophonic. And this harkens back to me to some of the earlier scores from Jesper Kyd. I think some of the stuff he did for Freedom Fighters and what was it? He did a couple other, like the earlier stuff. I'm talking about like back in 2000. And this is that retro angle which I really like. But also something like this. Combine it with, I don't know, like a flute from Symphobia. And these combinations are pretty interesting what you can do. Because you got this kind of very pseudo flute sound that's not really a flute, but combine it with a real flute sound, or combine it with anything else, but I'm just thinking, 1-to-1. So you got your flute sound. Which, that's just a Symphobia thing, but... Maybe turn off the bit crusher here. The extra shimmer is there, So these combinations that you can really have that are really interesting. Lyle's leads. Keep in mind, if you don't like what it's like, this sounds pretty fun, but you could always mess around with it and do what you want. So maybe change the attack. Why not? No, not pitch. And we got a filter envelope as well. But you can really kind of change it up and change what it does and, effects and everything. It's all there. Modern fashion chord. Now, this is a very different kind of lead. It's a quarter lead. This is very down tempo. So really cool stuff. And I suppose if you figure out what that chord is. It's like a 13th, 11th, 13th chord. I don't know. It's like a really jazzy chord. You could probably design something that sounds similar as well. Pizzicato leaves so different. Polyportamento. So there's a lot of different angles that have been taken to create these presets. It's not like you can go leads and it's like, okay, well, there's only like, you know, a few kinds of leads that you can do. No, there's like every kind of lead conceivable. It's sorry for this kind of monster length review. It's a monster library. You can always change what you want. Don't want the portamento? Want it to sound more like a guitar lead? Why not? Put that monophonic on. Maybe put the monophonic off. And combine that with like, maybe combine that with some long strings or something. Maybe even just a low string legato, you know. So just for fun, just put one from Symphobia. Symphobia 2. Maybe put the octave down on the Celestia one. So, you know, it's a lot of room to do this kind of stuff, to combine it with other things and get these really hybrid sounds. So it works well in and of itself, really well in and of itself, but it also works so well with other libraries, and it's all about how you want to apply it. And see how I used it as a bass just before? It doesn't like... Maybe I can put the octave down with the EQs, maybe. So you can really do what you want in this embarrassment of riches. Now pads, I want to stay for a while because there's a lot of cool stuff in here, because there's 4 different categories. So you got airy and grainy pads, glassy pads, motion pads, warm pads. So it's a lot of variety, and I think this is maybe the most angelic part of Celestia. It's like choir from heaven, endless swirls. Ice Angels. You can also combine this with a choir. Why not? So let's go for Sound Irons, Olympus Elements. It's nice and simple and quick and dirty. Let it load, let it load, let it load, let it... Sorry, I was listening to the song like right before I did the review, and it's just been stuck in my head, so that's all I can hear. Oh, Lord. I'm sorry. So, oh come on, what are you doing? What are you doing? There you go. So we'll put the choir here and swell it up. Combine that. And legato, let's go legato, why not? You know, there's a lot that can be done here. So, I don't know, new age bell pads. Grainy bow sounds pretty cool. This would sound great with kind of a woodwind ensemble, woodwind strings, and maybe Sordino strings ensemble. I don't know, I'm just... no, what am I doing? Just go with a wood ensemble from Albion. So... something's weird with that one ensemble. Never mind, just go with it. Woodwind's high. Something's off with my pitch bend. I don't know why. There we go. That sounds better. Don't know what was happening there. So maybe combine that with... Put this down a little bit. And maybe put in some Sordino strings. Let it load, let it load. I know you guys want to kill me after this. Well, it's better than the other one. What is it? I do Let It Snow, the Christmas Carol. It's like, let it load, let it load, let it load. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Ah, God. I don't have any SSDs, I'm sorry. So get some SSDs to make these videos shorter. So here, for example, is Consordino. So combine that with the winds. Combine that with the synth. It's got that different elements, you know? So this is just part of the fun of it. And part of the sonic fun is just what you can combine. Huge synth strings. Why not? Huge synth strings. Massive polychoir. flare up. This is really nice. Prophet choir. It's like a synth choir. Now let's combine that with a solo voice. So, got Voice of the Rapture from Sound Iron, and sorry, we got that on one. So you got. Maybe put this down a little bit. Maybe something else will work with the solo voice. I had some. Heavenly Static. Cosmos Sustain. That's a really nice one to come out of the voice. Why not? So you can do that. So it's just these combinations, right? Vox stack. Silence choir, for example. This would be nice combined with an actual choir sample as well. So let me just bring back that choir. I'm just sort of doing this to kind of demonstrate the possibility of this library and why I think it is definitely worth $139. So swell, there we go. Some really beautiful things, and I don't even have to do much to get a really great sound just from the combination. Sometimes this is an extension, I suppose, of the art of orchestration, is how you've combined these different sounds and different voices to say what you're trying to say. I suppose you could do that as well. Combine it with, I don't know, some adagietto strings. So go ensemble, longs, and let's go like the sordino sustains. Although the dynamic bones are really nice as well. But so maybe turn this on. So this becomes more than just the sum of its parts. So pretty cool stuff. Moving on, glassy pads. You probably see the name glass appear 5 or 6 times here. So it has a glassy kind of attack and a bit of a nice warm sustain. press release. Mirrors. This again is one of those ones that harken back to those 70s and 80s kind of sounds. I can just imagine like an old school voiceover on top of this. One day, man walked the earth like a giant. Speaking of giants, glass giants. I see something like this has a bit of a brassy texture, like a synth brassy. So if I combine that with a bit of brass, maybe the brass made from Albion, which is horns and trombones together. To get this. And of course, it becomes a balancing act as to what you want to do with each section. But there's a lot that can be done. And it's a bit of the pitch envelope? No. That could just be the actual. So you play with the pitch envelope as well to mess with the attack. So you can mess with the pitch envelope as well if you don't like the attack, if the attack's too weird or too... Whatever you want. Winter Glass. Something like this with a brass crescendo would work. Maybe brass section. Is it just in the long notes? I think it's in the long notes. In Synthphobia. I just put on the crescendo. I listen to it play. So it plays well with these different kind of dynamics. But you can also do that hand in hand. Can do whatever you want. And these are just combinations when I'm playing them together. Imagine how you play them separately and weave them in and out of each other, and then that's just composition then, isn't it? So that's brilliant. Motion pads, these have a bit of things happening, a bit of motion, obviously. Jovian sweeps. These just sound great with the brass, actually. Well, even the mixed orchestra, the strings and brass from Synthphobia. Maybe put a bit more reverb on there. Because this has some inherently weird, not weird harmonies, it's got like, what's it got? So I got a fifth in there, so the minute you start stacking fifths. So a lot of stuff happening there. Nights into Dreams. You should see me, I'm just melting now. So there's a bit of modulation on one layer. Yeah, modulation on one layer here. So some really great stuff. Raining Prophets. I like the pun. Storm on Mars. Warm pulsations. I like the motion. It's the motion. And you can make your own motion as well. So there's a lot of great stuff in there, and warm pads. These are probably some of my favorites. So instantly playable, hint of serenity. Futuristic strings. See, something like this will do well with adagietto, ensemble, longs, and any of those dynamic bowings. So maybe put the sordino ones. So it's really cool. So this is also the kind of hybrid stuff you can do. Hybrid doesn't always necessarily mean, trailer orchestrals, not that kind of stuff, Hybrid can just be this beautiful thing. If you listen to Two Steps from Hell, Skyworld, their Skyworld album, it's fantastic. It's got a lot of really cool hybrid stuff that is really kind of chilled out as well. This is one of my favorites, Norwegian Crimes. It's very, very TV-like and very, we're busy, we're doing something interesting, and we're putting our minds to work. Especially if you put some motion underneath it. Ruffled silk. See, I like, for example, the sound quality of these, but maybe I don't like what they've done with one of the layers, with the envelope, with the filter envelope. So this filter envelope here. Maybe I like this. Turn it on and layer this with the strings and brass. Put this up a little bit, put the reverb up. So, of course, if I, actually worked on it, I might get them to sit even better together. But this is the beauty of these things. This is what I mean. It doesn't lock you into a genre because they are so versatile and there's so many approaches to it. See, it might sound like I'm gushing over this, but I'm not, because I'm showing you what it is, and you can judge for yourself what it sounds like. I have no stake in this, you know. You got rhythmic patches, making use of the sequencer. Some of them pitch, some of them not. A bass swinger, for example. So this will have a little thing on the pitch. And I can also edit it. And I can, sit there and actually work on them, but it's pretty... Chordal dance, for example. Because we've changed the pitch on the sequencers here. Jump style. So as you can see, there's a lot. So this has got plugged piano and... And, do whatever you need to do. There's a funny one here. Baroque. So this is pretty cool. Lo-fi and minimal. So instantly, now if I turn this off, I've got the sound to play with. So you can always, turn off the sequencer and then just play it like a normal instrument. Motorcycle rumble, for example. Turn it on. There's modulation there. So put that back. So it's whatever I want it to be now. Save point. This is pretty cool. Because Andrew Aversa, he also does some video game work as well. So this is a very video game concept, the save point and having that kind of sound to it. Therapeutic sequence. I just feel like speaking this really female voice, this really soothing female voice. You are now entering a world full of wonder and mystery. You are the mystery. You are the secret to your own relaxation. I don't know. So, pretty cheap fun stuff. And then you got gated rhythmic stuff. So this is using the sequencer. Most of it is using the gator mode. And then you could, stack some strings on top of that. Would be pretty interesting. Some really cool stuff in there. Morse code laser. drifting away. See, some of this sounds beautiful. This sounds beautiful. And instantly I can put it into like a really nice soundtrack context. Right, so put that dynamic bowing from Adagio again. And that's just to demonstrate it. I'd probably be doing them separately and doing all sorts of really cool stuff with it. But God, it is just brilliant. So what they've given you here is a really great collection of a lot of things. And for $139, man, you better believe it's fantastic. It's definitely, there's a lot of libraries that can be overpriced or, not priced well enough. Like you think you're robbing this person blind by buying it at that price, but this is probably one of the most perfectly priced things I've seen so far. Apologies. We got Transformant. So put that at the bottom of a kind of action cue hybrid electronic thing, and it could really put that underneath some strings. Oh, or you could just make it, just use it for what it is, like trance. So it's some pretty great stuff, and we'll just quickly go through some synth poly. So you had some synth mono, which a lot of it was the leads, but you got something like this. Electric amp. And a lot of these sounds might sound, they have a certain quality by themselves, but it's also how you combine them with other things and mix and match them. Hero treads. But of course, you can could be really, combine it with an electric guitar and an electric cello. I don't know. Always depends on the context you want to work with. Crystal sequence. Lassie keys, why not? Hey, DX7, why not? Fat analog brass. This kind of sounds like Vangelis, and the CS80 I think he used a lot. I don't know. That's not Vangelis. I know it's taking my breath away, but it's cool. JP Super Sauce. This is really popular kind of thing right now. You can do this in any genre, really. It's like you can even make it dance like kind of thing, you know? Can do all kinds of awesome stuff. Lush glass. Let's just show you the scope of the library. Mess with the... I like that. Mess with the cutoff for that. Put a little... So. And go with the sequencer as well. So. So a lot of stuff you can do. So you can take the preset and jump off and do your thing. Salt and pleasant, why not? We're nearly there, I promise. So this is an important point to always keep in mind, is that just because a preset is designed one way or a sound source is designed one way does not mean you cannot take it to a completely different direction, as I've showed you before with creating your own patch. Oh, combine that. What was it, the JP Supersaws? What was it? It was... Oh, why not? Here's a synth version of Uncharted. Why not? Sanctuary organ. And so on and so forth. Last and not least, textures, which is, I think, an extension of the sound effects thing, but it's a lot more sustained. This isn't really about keys or, being in key, or because each sound has a plethora of tones. And again, let's go with some kind of... Look at the delays happening. A lot of things you can do here. So this can actually be a bit creepy if you want. Or if you could be a little more minimal. So a lot of really great stuff to do. Like, this library will not leave you the shortage of things to do. Which can be a negative if you're on a deadline, I suppose. Yeah, currents. This is a very minor thing. So some of this stuff is very chordal, so you're not going to play it like you would, or you could. If that's the kind of thing you're going for. See, something like this could easily be a little creepy as well. And this is the point I keep trying to say, is you can dirty these things up and make them what you wish them to be. You're not bound by what's on there. I think like a great thing I like is the amp. In a large abandoned area, in a large kind of wasteland. It's just a hint, like something you can do with it, you know? Pandora creatures. A lot of great stuff. A lot of great stuff. And I'm just... Even as that. And to try this, for example. Try maybe tuning, even just tune this down here. There you go, you've created a soundscape. Why not? Zen and Storm. Try that with tuning down. Maybe put the EQ, the high frequency on EQ up a little bit. So that could easily be a really great sound effect in the middle of any composition. So, in summation, in conclusion, in everything, having said that, that being said, and all of that, now, having been said, never mind, I'm just being stupid. Celestia. Great editability, great customization of sounds, and a plethora of sound sources and presets to work with. the possibilities are actually endless. And, you know, for the price of $139, I think it's a great bargain. There's also $229 if you get it with Juggernaut. Juggernaut is it's aimed to be a lot darker, I think. It's been reviewed on Film and Game Composers before, so you can check it out if you want. On filmandgamecomposers.com. Basically, I think it's well worth the price. It does what's advertised and possibly more depending on what you want to do with it. If you don't want to go that deep, if you don't want to go that deep into editing, you don't have to, because there's the number of presets is astounding. In one library to have this many different colors is also a great thing to have. Bang for the buck, fantastic. Do I have any complaints? Not really. The random thing is an addition, a luxurious addition, and sometimes I wish it did more, something more drastic and more interesting. Sometimes, but then if it's randomizing everything, it's not necessarily going to be something fantastic. But that's maybe my only concern. It really isn't much. I mean, sequencer's great. Maybe the sequencer, if there's a way to kind of make it match a key, that'd be great. So, you just put in key C minor, and then whatever chord you play, it'll understand that, okay, this has to kind of conform to the C minor scale, and so it just denotes accordingly. So it makes it a little more versatile, but I think that's a Kontakt thing. It's not a Celestia thing at all. I mean, if they can do it, it would be fantastic. If they couldn't, that would just be the Kontakt thing. Effects are great. All these things are great, and the 2-layer system is fantastic. I actually can't complain. I'm trying to look for a complaint. Maybe the only complaint is how much there is, which will be a time suck if you're messing around or if you're also on a deadline. So be wary of that. Maybe design a few patches in a time when you're not composing, and like the patch I designed earlier on and then just stupidly deleted it, didn't continue. I could design it again. It's not a big deal. But yeah, maybe design some patches in your own spare time and experiment with all these different things and what you can do with it. I mean, a lot of it is just synthesis techniques, which you can do with any other synthesizer, soft synthesizer, or hardware synthesizer. With that, let me leave you and hope you enjoy your creativity. If you're thinking about picking it up, I hope that this has given you a really good look at what it has to offer in depth. And I will leave you be. I hope I haven't wasted your time. I hope you've been entertained at the very least. And I'll catch you in the next video. See you later.